This is Larry Henares, making your day with the seventh and last part of an article written by Fareed Zakaria entitled U.S. Gun Control. And we continue to quote and to conclude. Up next, what to make of all these lessons from all over the world. We have gone through over the world in search of solutions, ways to bring down the epidemic of gun violence that afflicts America. We saw many interesting ideas at work, all of them centering around some simply common sense ideas that put some checks on the unfettered sale and possession of firearms. What we did not find was a large-scale nationwide example where an expanded attention to mental health issues could be tied to a reduction in homicides or suicides using guns. This might surprise you, because every time there's a serious gun massacre in the United States, and alas, these are fairly common, the media focuses on the twisted psychology of the shooter and asks, why don't we pay more attention to detecting and treating mental illness? The question we should really be focused on is not the specific cause of a single shooting, but why are there so many of them? According to gunpolicy.org, there were more than 11,000 gun homicides in the United States in 2012. In Canada, there were fewer than 200. In Germany and Spain, fewer than 100. In Australia, fewer than 50. America's per capita gun homicide rate in 2012 was over 17 times higher than the average of Canada, Germany, Australia, and Spain. Does anyone think that we have 17 times as many psychologically troubled people as they do in these countries? There are other reasons often given for gun violence: popular culture, violent video games. Japan, with its particular fascination with violent video games, is actually stunningly low in gun deaths. So whatever you think of violent video games and movies, they don't seem to be the key cause of gun violence. And we do have an actual experiment. More about this after these messages. This is Larry Henares making your day with the seventh and last part of Fareed Zakaria's article entitled U.S. Gun Control. In the aftermath of its own Newtown-like massacre, Australia changed its gun laws. The result? Homicides and suicides plummeted in the decade that followed. Of course, like all real-world problems, the link between guns and violence is a very complex issue. But one rarely has so much evidence pointing in the same direction. That finally leaves the issue of the American Constitution. The argument that the Second Amendment makes any kind of serious gun control impossible. I'm not a legal historian, but I will note that many serious historians have pointed out that the Second Amendment was not invoked much for much of American history, often applied only to well-regulated militias and for many decades did not stand in the way of sensible gun regulation, and that the Supreme Court upheld such regulations. All that started to change in the 1970s and 80s as part of a spirited political movement by the National Rifle Association to make gun rights inviolable. As I said, I'm not a lawyer, but listen to someone who was. Warren Burger. He was a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court for 17 years, a conservative Republican appointed by Richard Nixon. And here is what he said about the Second Amendment. This has been the subject of one of the greatest pieces of fraud. I repeat the word fraud on the American public by National Rifle Association special interest groups that I have ever seen in my lifetime. Just look at those words. There are only 3 lines to that amendment and 3 well-known words. A well-regulated militia. If the militia, which is going to be the state army, was to be well-regulated, why should it 16 and 17 and 18 or any aged persons be regulated in the use of firearms? Let's put aside legal debate. Here's what I think about this basically. One of the most important tasks for a government is to keep its citizens, especially the children, safe on the streets and in their schools. Every developed country in the world is able to fulfill this basic mandate. America is not. And the greatest tragedy is that America knows how to do it and will not do it. This is Larry and Harris making your day, saying good day, God bless you. Thank you very much for being with us. Till next time, hasta la bye-bye.